What's up everyone, I'm Staff Sgt. Justin Morelli, and today I am coming to you live for episode 2 of Trivia Tuesday. Brought to you, of course, by the New England Recruiting Battalion. So I can't tell you how excited I am to be here. I'm super pumped, very excited to get this game going. As you may know from tuning in last week, we had quite a bit of fun, and you know, several people did fairly well, but we had some technical glitches that we had to work through over the last week, and I think that we have those under control now. So this week we will be able to clearly define and establish who the winner is, and yeah, we are pumped. So as I said last week, I am a virtual recruiter within the New England Recruiting Battalion, and originally I was a combat cameraman. So I've had a tremendous amount of opportunities brought to me by the Army, and you know, I've traveled the world, I've jumped out of airplanes, I've rappelled out of helicopters, and I just really love what I do. But one of the things I also love is trivia, and I love Army history. And the amount of contributions that the U.S. Army has made, you know, to society, has brought to society within, you know, this country and the world is just, you know, it's pretty unbelievable. And, you know, I want to highlight some of those things. So if you don't know the answers to these questions, that's okay, but you will get to learn something. And that right there is worth it, you know, because you should always be pushing yourself, always be, you know, attempting to learn what you can. So let's get started with at least talking about the rules. So today we are once again going to have 20 questions. However, the difference between this week and last week is that you will have 90 seconds to answer those questions, and that's because we are, you know, attributing the fact that there is going to be a slight lag between YouTube, Facebook, and Kahoot. So I want to be able to ask you the question and have, you know, and I need you to have enough time to actually answer that question. So if you aren't aware, go ahead and log on to Kahoot. The information is posted, but it is www.kahoot, that's KAHOOT.IT, and the game code is 8951576. So 8951576, and if you can see the screen, we are putting that live up there. We have several people already playing, so we got 6 players. We have Wonder Woman, Laura, Sarge's crew, Jay Money, who actually was the winner from last week, Hoya Kane, and Tyler. And I think, you know, we're going to get a few more here as we go. Oh, Nasty Nate just came on, so watch out for him, ladies and gentlemen. He might be nasty, I don't know. So, all right, and so a couple other things that I want to talk about. There will be a tiebreaker if it's needed. However, hopefully we won't need that. Just answer the questions, and you know what you know. So with that being said, don't cheat. One of the Army values is integrity, and that means just doing the right thing when no one's looking. So don't use your tablets, your phones, or your computer to go and look up the answer if you don't know it. I understand that, you know, many of you might be very competitive, but if you don't know the answer, just, you know, take a stab at it and take a guess. And, you know, if you get it right, then good on you. If not, better luck next time. Like I said, at least you'll learn something by the end of the question. So, all right, we got a couple more that just hopped on. We got Iron Man Sucks. Yeah. So we're up to 8 players. Let's see if we can get it up to 10 players. You can play as a team. So I think like Sarge's crew there, you know, I'm not really sure who they are, but I'm guessing that it might be a crew or a team. So if you are stuck in quarantine right now together and you're, you know, looking for something to do, this is the prime opportunity to do that. You know, sit around and keep your, you know, 6-foot distance, but as the questions come up, you know, you can hear what I'm going to ask and go ahead and answer them. So like I said, no shame on actually looking for, you know, a lifeline from one of your friends that you're quarantined with. Just don't use Google. So, and then, yeah, so one more time, we got 8 players right now. Miss Mejia just jumped on, so that's pretty awesome. And we are going to go one more time, see if, oh, we just went up to 9 players. we're going to go to www.kahoot.it, and the code to get into the game pin is 8951576. So go ahead and enter that in, and let's get this game started. So we got 9 players, and we're starting episode 2. Here we go. So this Marvel Comics co-creator served in the U.S. Army's Training Film Division and later went on to produce Spider-Man, the X-Men, Iron Man, and the Hulk. Was it A, Stan Lee, B, Julius Schwartz, C, Dick Ayers, or D, Jack Kirby? And you have 75 seconds remaining, of which we're going to just sit here and we're going to, let you answer the questions as all the answers come through. We got 3 answers so far. Once we get up to that 9 or 10 answers, we will proceed with the next question. But make sure you get those questions in. Make sure you get those answers in. And yeah, let's have some fun. Some of you may know this guy, and I'm going to talk a bit about him here in a minute. But he did serve in the Army. He was World War II veteran. And we're up to 8 answers, 9 answers. And how many people do we have on? All right, so let's see if we can go ahead and skip and get to the correct answer. So all right, we got 6 answers came in correct, 2 were wrong, I'm sorry, 3 were wrong. So the correct answer was A, Stan Lee. Stan Lee was a member of the Signal Corps, which I am also a proud member of, and that's for all you signaleers out there. We have quite a proud history within the Signal Corps. I mean, the Air Force actually was created out of the Army Signal Corps, and several other things. So just to pay some homage to Stan Lee, he was a comic book genius, incredibly talented guy, and he got his start in the Army. So before going on to become such a Marvel legend. So anyways, let's go to the next question here, and I'm going to start reading. Just so you know, Nasty Nate is in the lead, but Afghanistan and Iraq War veteran Jason Everman served in the U.S. Army as a Ranger and Special Forces Green Beret. Before joining the Army, he was a guitarist in this popular 90s band. So you can see on the slide, the question is worded slightly differently just because of a character limit that we have to meet. But take a stab at it. Is it A, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, B, the Smashing Pumpkins, C, Nirvana, or D, Pearl Jam? For any of you, 90s kids, some of you might remember this music. And then, with the younger crowd, the younger generation, I see quite a bit of you supporting some of these bands with t-shirts and everything else. So they're still making quite an impact on pop culture. And Jason Everman, quite a guy. And, to leave the band and go on to become, just an elite soldier, it's quite an accomplishment. So, and we have 6 answers in so far. Let's see, everybody playing, 7 answers. Get those answers in. Let's do this. All right, 8 answers in. Who is it going to be, ladies and gentlemen? Who is it going to be? Is it the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, or Pearl Jam? All right, we got 9 answers in. Let's go ahead and skip to the correct answer. So, all right, a lot of you got it right there. 5 correct answers for Nirvana. So, for those of you that don't know, Nirvana was, quite a legendary band back in the 90s. They basically reformed and reshaped, music as we know it with their grunge style. But Everman was, just an incredible guy. Like I said, extremely talented, definitely a high performer. To be able to play in a top-level music band, obviously he's got musical talent. But then to go on and become a Ranger in Special Forces, that's someone that, truly pushes himself on top of that, you know, he did study philosophy at Columbia University in New York, and he also attended Norwich University in Vermont, which is actually the first private military college in the country, and he studied military history there. So, you know, that's just someone that's doing great things, doing big things, and the Army, you know, in a lot of ways helped probably set him up for that, you know, because we do practice discipline, you know, we have high discipline, and we learn how to, you know, maximize our time throughout the day and you know, push ourselves. So if you can be a soldier, then you know that you can always push yourself to the next level. So, all right, next question. So, this president recognized the unique capabilities and value of the U.S. Army Special Forces, or the Green Berets, in counterinsurgency and unconventional warfare. He said the Green Beret undoubtedly would become a symbol of excellence, a badge of courage, a mark of distinction in the fight for freedom. So, we got 2 answers in so far. You either know it or you don't, but it's A, Barack Obama, B, Ronald Reagan, C, Dwight Eisenhower, or D, John F. Kennedy. All great presidents, all did their part to support the military, and you know, by all means, you know, we appreciate that. In the military, you know, it doesn't matter who our commander-in-chief is. You know, we are going to do as we're, you know, as what's right, and always, you know, defend the American way of life. But there's one president in particular, and that is John F. Kennedy. So 5 got it right. Great job. John F. Kennedy, obviously one of our presidents from Massachusetts, one of 4, and you know, pretty incredible. He went down to Fort Bragg and he met with the founder of the Special Forces, which at that time, you know, they were still just getting started, and they didn't really have a ton of troops within their formations yet. Because they were so unconventional. They were a very different type of Army unit. And, you know, they didn't have an authorized headgear, and sure enough, they showed up wearing their Green Berets, and JFK liked it so much that he actually made it a presidential order, which actually, if you complete the Special Forces qualification course, you are also awarded the Green Beret, which is, you know, that symbol that is supposed to show that you are, you know, a step above the rest, and that you are an elite soldier. So, pretty awesome stuff. Everywhere we look within the special operations community, there's always, you know, something that pays homage to John F. Kennedy. You know, first and foremost, where you start out with your training is the JFK Special Warfare Center and School in Fort Bragg, and that's where all special operations soldiers go to get trained. So pretty remarkable, and we definitely appreciate what he did for us back in the 50s to get us started. So moving on to the next question. Right now we got Nasty Nate in the lead with 3104, Hoya Kane right behind, and Tyler's doing pretty well too. So those are our top 3. Let's go to the next question. So, the only soldier to receive a battlefield promotion to the rank of general during the Civil War was from Maine. What was his name? Was it A, George G. Meade, B, William Tecumseh Sherman, C, Joshua Chamberlain, or D, George McClellan? So we got 3 answers in right now, and we got 70 seconds remaining, so get those answers in. Maine has a proud history. For all of you that aren't, you know, haven't been privileged enough to meet a Mainer, or a maniac as we might call them, they're a proud bunch, and you know, it takes quite a bit to live in the Great White North country of Maine, and you know, so therefore a lot of the men and women that come from there are quite tough, and they have a level of resilience that is unmatched. So for that, you know, I'm always impressed, and you know, we have some great soldiers out there. But moving on to the correct question, get those answers in. We only have 7 answers so far, but let's see if we can get it up there. I can see that some might be falling off and on, but we have 8 answers in now. Let's get to that 9 mark, because I think we have 9 that are playing live. All right, so the correct answer is Joshua Chamberlain. So he was most known for his gallantry at the Battle of Gettysburg. Like I said, he was from Maine, and he earned the Medal of Honor actually at the Battle of Gettysburg, which is quite an impressive feat. And he also went on to become the 32nd governor of Maine. So, like I said, proud history of Mainers that have served, and thank you for that service. Let's move on to the next question. So this is question 5. We're a quarter of the way through. With the passing of the Emancipation Proclamation, the U.S. Army created the first all-black infantry regiment from this state. Was it A, New York, B, Connecticut, C, Massachusetts, or D, Pennsylvania? We got one answer in so far. Someone is quick on that. We got 3 answers in. So, like I said, you either know it or you don't. We got six answers in now. People are crushing it. 7 answers. 8 answers. Let's see if we can get that last answer in. And 9 answers. So let's go ahead on and find out what the correct answer is. So the correct answer is Massachusetts, and we got 6 correct answers on that. So Robert Shaw, Colonel Robert Shaw, U.S. Army, he actually was the commander of the first all-black infantry regiment, and that unit was stood up in Boston, and it was all free men that voluntarily chose to serve, and quite an impressive feat. If you're ever down in Boston at the Boston Common, you can see a nice memorial and a statue and a remembrance there for all the troops that served in that unit. So pretty unbelievable. Actually, one of the first Black Medal of Honor recipients was in that unit as well. So moving on to our next question. G.I. Joe, the world's first action figure, was created in this state. And we got one answer in. Was it A, New York, B, California, C, Georgia, or D, Rhode Island? We got 4 answers in, 6 answers in. We'll see if we can get it up there. Everybody get your answers in. No cheating. Don't be Googling it. Just take a guess. What's it going to be? All 4 of those states have contributed quite a bit to our country, but there is one that packs quite a powerful little punch. So that is 9 answers, and we got 6 correct answers in for Rhode Island. So Rhode Island is the correct answer. Hasbro, for those of you that don't know, is headquartered in Rhode Island. Hasbro created G.I. Joe, and it became extremely popular. In fact, it's arguably one of the most successful toy lines of its time. And then, for those of you that might have grown up in the 80s, you might have seen the cartoon series that went along with it, and it's just been ongoing ever since. They originally started out with producing action figures because they didn't want to call them dolls, but they actually produced action figures that were historically accurate to different soldiers of that time. And it's pretty cool. I mean, some of those are extremely valuable now as collectibles. But anyways, now you know, and knowing's half the battle. So let's move on to the next question. So, what 2001 film depicted the valiant efforts of U.S. Army Master Sergeant Gary Gordon during Operation Gothic Serpent? He earned the Medal of Honor for this. So, is it A, Enemy at the Gates, B, Black Hawk Down, C, Pearl Harbor, or D, Behind Enemy Lines? We have 3 answers in with 70 seconds remaining. So get those answers in. Gary Gordon, he was from Maine, another proud maniac, and he, quite an impressive guy. Earned the Medal of Honor. And any of you that might have seen this movie, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you taking a look at it. But if you saw the scene where he knew what he was doing, he knowingly went into a dangerous situation to save the lives of downed crew members in a helicopter crash. So Pretty unbelievable. How many questions do we have? We have 8 answers so far. And that is it. So we got everyone, almost everyone there with Black Hawk Down with the correct answer. For those of you that haven't seen it, like I said, awesome movie. Definitely depicts the Battle of Mogadishu in an incredible way. Overall, one of the things, to many commanders' dismay, the line, well, this is my safety, sir. That is not something I recommend saying to your commanders if you are in the Army, or if you do join the Army and you are, holding your firearm. I don't recommend saying that this is your safety. Make sure that you're actually keeping that weapon on safe, because it's not like the movies. You are going to get, you're going to get disciplined for that one. It's all about safety. So, all right, next question. So, this research lab at Fort Detrick, Maryland played a significant role in the developing of a vaccine for the Ebola virus. Was it A, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, B, the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute for Infectious Diseases, C, Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, or D, the National Cancer Institute? And we have 4 answers in so far, up to 6 answers now. 7, 8. All right, last chance, get that answer in. And we are moving on to the correct answer, which is the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute for Infectious Diseases, otherwise known as USAMRIID. So like I said, it's at Fort Detrick. And I mean, these guys are pretty impressive. These are Army scientists and soldiers that helped develop vaccines for anthrax, the plague, and Ebola. And it was actually the virus sequence data that was generated by USAMRIID that helped some civilian companies develop the actual vaccine. So it was a collaboration. USAMRIID is just one of the many organizations within the Army that we collaborate with other big, corporations or other big, players within different fields to help, make society a better place and just, offer the best that we can. I mean, we serve because we're selfless and because we want to help people and we love what we do. And that's so many of us out there, very similar to, nurses and doctors and everyone else. I mean, you're putting others before yourself. And that's just, an incredible thing. So our scientists are some of the best in the business, the best and brightest, and they're out there developing vaccines and cures. They're currently right now working on something for COVID-19 or the coronavirus as we know it. It is, it's a scary time, but we're sitting back with fingers crossed right now, hoping that our guys can pull through and maybe crack the code on something that will help us fight this disease. So hashtag kill the virus, and let's move on to the next question. So we do have Nasty Nate leading the leaderboard right now with 9,924. We got Hoya Kane right behind him. Iron Man Sucks, Tyler and Laura are all doing pretty well. So, and the next question is, this iconic American artist is most famous for his illustrations of everyday life. He captured the spirit of small-town America, and his patriotic depictions during World War II were seen by millions. He spent 25 years living in Massachusetts until his death, where a museum with the largest collection of his works can still be found today. Was it A, Andy Warhol, B, Jackson Pollock, C, Edward Hopper, or D, Norman Rockwell? We got 6 answers in so far. 7 answers in. All pretty incredible artists, and definitely by all means, I could talk quite a bit about all of them, but there's one in particular that I want to talk about. And we are going to go on to the correct answer, which we got 6 on that. So it was Norman Rockwell, for those of you that didn't know. Very iconic painter and artist. He illustrated everyday scenes of American life, and he really captured Americana at its best. And in fact, interesting story, he illustrated for the Saturday Evening Post, and one of his paintings was of Rosie the Riveter. So, when we all think of Rosie the Riveter, you know, most of us think of the We Can Do It painting. However, that was not Norman Rockwell. That was actually J. Howard Miller. And, you know, nowadays, that is the painting that we recognize. But at the time, it was actually Norman Rockwell's painting of Rosie the Riveter that was far more iconic and much more recognized by the American public. And that's just because it got out to so many people through the Saturday Evening Post. So if you do want to go see any of his works, that particular painting itself is housed in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. And you can go down and you know, appreciate some of that beautiful artwork. So, moving on to the next question. We are at the halfway point, ladies and gentlemen. Question 10. The 1939 New York World's Fair exhibited an impressive amusement park ride that inspired Lieutenant Colonel William Lee to recreate for use as a training tower in this innovative U.S. Army program. Was it A, air assault, B, airborne, C, combat diving, or D, military freefall? And we got 4 answers that have come in so far. Colonel William Lee definitely, you know, was a man ahead of his time. He saw the need for soldiers to be able to get someplace quickly and in a different and innovative way. Like I said, innovative for that time. And now it is something that is done regularly by the U.S. Army. So if you're a bit of a thrill seeker, that is definitely something you might want to look into. We got 7 answers in right now. Let's get our last couple players to finish up here, and we're going to go on to what is correct. So we got 8 answers in, and who else are we waiting on? Get that last answer in. We got 20 seconds remaining. All right, 9 answers. We're moving on. All right, we got 4 and 4. So some of you guessed airborne, and some of you guessed military freefall. The correct answer was airborne, which the U.S. Army, the War Department, saw the need for a forcible entry air infiltration, essentially, to be able to get a large amount of soldiers onto the ground very quickly in an undetected manner. And so the airborne program was created in 1940. And it was Colonel Lee that was walking through the World's Fair at the time that saw these giant 250-foot towers that people were actually, you know, they had the guts to pay for this amusement park ride, in which they would be hoisted up to 250 feet and then released, and a parachute would open up and they would fall safely to the ground. So Colonel Lee said, well, we need some of those, and Fort Benning, Georgia now you know, hosts or holds those towers, those 250-foot towers, which are still used to this day. It's the same technology, essentially. At one point there were 4 towers. Right now there's 3 remaining towers, and you know, it's definitely, if you are ever on Fort Benning, you will be able to look up in most places and see those towers. So it's quite a landmark. So also airborne all the way. And next question. So which New England state is the only state to end a foreign war? Was it A, Massachusetts, B, Connecticut, C, New Hampshire, or D, Maine? We've got no answers in so far. Oh, 1 answer just came in. Let's see what we got out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep it going. It can be a little bit tricky, but there is one and only one correct answer. All right, we got all of our answers in, and here we go. So, all right, the correct answer was New Hampshire. So it was actually the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard that hosted the signing of the Treaty of the Russo-Japanese War in 1905. Now, like I said, the reason it can be a little bit tricky is because at this time, the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, which now falls in Maine's borders belong to New Hampshire still. So that is why it is called the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. At that time, it did belong to New Hampshire. And for those of you that don't know, that is currently where the New England Recruiting Battalion is headquartered. So every day we have the beautiful view of looking outside of our windows and seeing the lovely Maine/New Hampshire coastline, and we can see the water right from where we work, and it's pretty incredible. So awesome place. If you ever want to come by and visit, just reach out to us and schedule an appointment, and we'll be more than happy to bring you on to the base. So next question. So 31 of 45 presidents served in the military, but only one was awarded the Medal of Honor. Which president earned this distinction? Was it A, Theodore Roosevelt, B, Dwight D. Eisenhower, C, Ulysses S. Grant, or D, William Henry Harrison? We have 3 answers in so far. Up to 6 answers. I wish you all the best of luck on this one. A lot of military service within the presidents. It's not a requirement, but many of those that do serve in the military do choose to go on and continue to serve within the government. So we have all the answers in, and we have 3 with the correct answer, which is Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt was a pretty unbelievable guy, actually. So he was a New York aristocrat, and he sort of wanted to recreate his image and become known more as an outdoorsman and a frontiersman. And so he worked pretty hard to do that. And he did join the Army, and he actually led a charge in Santiago de Cuba, in which it earned him the Medal of Honor. So he did that when he was a young officer in the U.S. Army, and then went on to become the president. So once again, pretty impressive. And Teddy Roosevelt, if you haven't had the chance to read a bit about him, pretty cool guy. Also, the teddy bear is named after him. So next question. All right. This actor plays U.S. Army Captain Stephen Rogers, better known as Captain America in the first Avenger. Is it A, Chris Pratt, B, Sebastian Stan, C, Matt Salinger, or D, Chris Evans? We have 5 answers in so far. 6 answers, 8 answers. Oh, I think you guys know this one. You seem pretty confident. Oh, yep. All right, so 8 correct answers for Chris Evans, D. So yeah, I just had to throw that in there because not only is Captain America a soldier, but Chris Evans is from Boston, and I always got to show some love to fellow Bostonians. So yeah, props on you, Chris. Definitely an awesome movie, and for all you Marvel fans out there, that actually was created by Jack Kirby, not Stan Lee. So Captain America was created by Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby was in the Army as well, but he wasn't in the same unit as Stan Lee. He actually was a scout, and he used some of his artistic skills to draw reconnaissance maps as a scout of forward positions and German lines, which is pretty crazy too. Definitely a wild job. But yeah, he came back from that and went on to create Captain America, which is awesome. I actually watched it last night. So next question. Alright, this New England factory served as the primary center for the manufacture of U.S. military firearms from 1777 until its closing in 1968. Was it A, Colts Manufacturing Company, B, Sig Sauer, C, the Springfield Armory, or D, Smith & Wesson? Now choose your answers wisely. This can be a bit confusing because all of these companies are actually in New England. Because New England was so forward, and with the industrial revolution really getting its start here, factories were popping up everywhere, and at that time, we needed firearms to equip our army, and so one of these manufacturers, came forward and kind of took a step ahead of the rest, and so we have 8 answers in right now. And 9 answers, so we're going to go ahead to the correct answer, which is... okay. Only 2 got that right, but it is the Springfield Armory in Springfield, Massachusetts. They did shut down in 1968, like I said, but they produced quite a bit of our firearms and equipped the U.S. Army throughout several wars. So you can still find some weapons out there that have that print from the original Springfield Armory. But quite a big impact on our national defense. So and like I said, all of those firearms manufacturers are actually headquartered in New England. Pretty crazy. So next question. All right, listen closely. So West Point on New York's Hudson River is the oldest continuously operated U.S. Army post in the country. During the American Revolution, it served as a key point to protect the colonies from being split by the British. What was used to prevent this from happening? Now you can see the consolidated version of that question there, but was it A, mines, B, a chain, C, a blockade, or D, cannons? So like I said, West Point, it's on some beautiful bluffs that overlook the Hudson, and it was a very strategic location for the Revolutionary War and for the American forces. So we have 6 answers in so far. Let's get the remainder up. 8 answers in. 9 answers. All right, and we're going to go to the correct answer, which was B, a chain. So yes, pretty unbelievable. The U.S. Navy at that time, we just didn't have the ability to put a blockade of U.S. warships on the Hudson to protect the British from moving up and down river. And so, like I said, West Point was a key location, very strategic for us. And so we realized that we needed to have something to prevent ships from moving freely up and down the river. And so they actually linked together these massive chain links. And some can still be found right now to this day. But these massive chain links, and they ran it all the way from West Point to Constitution Island, which prevented the British from maneuvering, essentially. So pretty crazy. The infamous trader Benedict Arnold actually warned the British that they could probably break through those chains if they had a heavy enough ship. But the British, thought otherwise, and they said, what, we're not even going to attempt it, because they knew that West Point would also have the ability to reach out with some cannon fire if need be, and slow them down even further. So yeah, it was pretty wild. If the colonies had been split down the middle, it would have been a very different outcome for our independence. And so for that, I am very thankful that a chain was able to do the job. And the next question. So, the U.S. Army was once responsible for exploring and mapping America. What did President Thomas Jefferson commission Captain Meriwether Lewis and Second Lieutenant William Clark to do? Was it A, cross the western portion of the United States, B, explore the Cumberland Gap, C, settle Virginia, or D, annex Texas? So many of you probably have heard of Lewis and Clark, but if you don't know what they were doing, take a stab at the answer that you want to pick. And oh, we got all 9 answers in, so we're going to go on. All right, 8 got that right, so great job. Yes, the correct answer was A, to cross the western portion of the United States. So pretty wild. Jefferson, had the foresight to realize that westward expansion was necessary. And, so he commissioned these Army officers, a captain and a second lieutenant, who were, they were capable of mapping areas and, documenting what it was that they saw at that time. And he commissioned them to go out there and try to get all the way out to the West Coast and then to get back. So along the way, they did just that. They were successful, as we know. And Jefferson didn't know what they were going to encounter out there. I mean, for all he knew, there might have still been woolly mammoths that lived somewhere out in the rest of the continent. And because we hadn't had any people really pushing past that Cumberland Gap area in Kentucky and so forth, I mean, the Louisiana Purchase was, you know, a new thing, and we hadn't explored much of that area. So it was Lewis and Clark that documented. They along the way, they were, you know, talented artists, and they were able to sketch the flora and fauna that they encountered and map the area as well. And it's just pretty incredible. I mean, once again, another win for the Army. So moving on to the next question. So this fortification on Castle Island in Boston Harbor was the primary stronghold for British forces during the Siege of Boston, before American forces were able to reclaim it. Was it A, Fort Sumter, B, Fort Independence, C, Fort Revere, or D, Fort Constitution? And we got 3 answers in so far. We got 7 answers. Let's keep them coming. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. Get that last answer in. And we are going to move on. All right, so 4 got it correct. It was Fort Independence, which if you're ever flying into Logan Airport and you look out the window, you might be able to glance down upon it. It is a Pentagon-shaped fort. Very, very cool. I mean, it looks like a castle almost. And an interesting story about that was that Edgar Allan Poe, who was actually born in Boston, he was stationed there at Fort Independence for a little while, and while he was there, he witnessed a duel take place between several soldiers, and it inspired him to write one of his most famous works, which was The Cask of Amontillado. So for any of you Poe fans out there, most of you might know that his home and museum is located in Baltimore, but he was born in Boston, and like I said, stationed at Fort Independence originally. So pretty cool. And we're going to move on to the next question. All right, so what was Veterans Day originally called? Was it A, Memorial Day, B, Soldiers Day, C, Armistice Day, or D, Armed Forces Day? Got 2 answers in, 3 answers, 4 answers. Oh, they're coming in, ladies and gentlemen. They're coming in hot. And 5 answers. Get those last few in. What day was it? All right. So we got 7 correct answers with Armistice Day. So Armistice Day was created after the end of World War I. And it was created by several of the Allied countries that fought in World War I. And later in the 50s, the United States decided, you know what, they decided that they were going to change it to honor all veterans within the United States. So it is not Memorial Day. It is not any of the others. It was in fact Armistice Day that changed to Veterans Day. So moving on to the next question. All right, Lieutenant Colonel Theodore Geisel once served in the U.S. Army as an artist and won an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. What name is he best known as? Was it A, Mr. Rogers, B, Dr. Seuss, C, Captain America, or D, Mr. Clean? And we got 4 answers in so far, 5 answers. Let's see what we can get right, ladies and gentlemen. We've talked a bit about Captain America already, so you know that's your throwaway answer. So you got 3 others to pick from. All right, all 9 answers are in. So let's move on to the next question, or to the correct answer, which is Dr. Seuss. So we got 6 that got that right. So congratulations to you. Dr. Seuss was actually in the first motion picture unit and created films and cartooned for a then popular series that he created called Private Snafu. Bonus points if you know what Snafu stands for, but I'm not going to give them to you here. Yeah, so Dr. Seuss got his start in the Army as well, and went on to become one of the most well-known, children's authors out there One Fish, Two Fish, The Grinch That Stole Christmas, and Cat in the Hat. All of those. The places you'll go. I mean, pretty impressive. So yeah, awesome. That's just another Army veteran that did great things for America. So moving on to the next question, and it is our last and final question. So question 20. The first submarine with a documented record of use in combat was used by the U.S. Army in what war? Was it A, the Revolutionary War? A, the Civil War, B, the Revolutionary War, C, the War of 1812, or D, World War I? We got 7 answers that came in so far. Seems like you guys know this one. I know that most people think of the Navy when they think of submarines, but it was actually the Army that created the first submarine and used it in combat. So we got 8 answers in. We're waiting on that last answer. And yeah, we got 45 seconds remaining. And let's go ahead and move forward. All right, so 2 got that correct. It was actually the Revolutionary War. I know that it might have thrown some of you off with the Civil War and the ironclads of that time, but it was actually the Turtle, which was created in Connecticut by Army officials. And Washington wasn't really for it at first, but then he realized that it had potential. And what they would do is it was a one-man vessel that they would take on water to actually bring it subsurface, and then they would power it to actually drive forward and try to plant explosives on British vessels. So pretty unbelievable. It wasn't very successful, to be completely honest. I will say that I take pride in the fact that the Army invented it, but we'll let the Navy keep that. So with that being said, as always, go Army, beat Navy. And wow, okay, so we have the winners. So with gold comes first place. That is Tyler, and he got 16 out of 20 questions correct. So congratulations out there to Tyler. Nasty Nate came in second place, and he got 15 out of 20 questions correct. And then close tie there, but actually the timer, judging on how fast you answered the question, gives you more points. So third place was Iron Man Sucks, and he also got 15 out of 20 questions correct. So pretty awesome. Definitely cool that you guys came out to play with us today. As I said, we're happy to do this. We're going to do this each week. It's just something that we can do to pass the time, talk a little bit about the Army and different things that have taken place throughout New England, and then just learn something, like I said. So congratulations to Tyler and to the other 2 winners. You guys did great. Hope you all learned something. I hope you had fun. And as always, we'll see you next week. And in the meanwhile, stay safe and stay healthy and take care.